Second question is about a federal court case about reopening four-wheel drive tracks in the Tarkine, which I understand the federal government has now co-joined with the state as a co-appellant. Why? What's the reason for co-joining? Or is that in 1.5 as well?
Well, I can cover that off now. There's also connections into 1.4 as well, but in effect, and our general counsel has also joined the table to answer the specifics. But from a policy standpoint, we thought it was important to provide clarity as to how we were approaching heritage considerations with respect to that type of decision. That was the main impetus, because we thought that that was worthwhile to have that clarified.
So you're not joining as an amicus, though. You're joining as a co-appellant. So that would kind of...
So Simon Reiter, General Counsel, Senator, the Minister, the then Minister, Minister Hunt, decided to intervene in the proceedings. So we're not
so you're not
sort
a
of arguing
as
for
such.
one side or the other. The role that the Minister took in the proceedings was to assist the court with the interpretation and understanding of the EPBC Act. There were two areas that we had a concern about. One was the federal court, in its original decisions, interpretation of what an action was, because that was a very broad interpretation of that, and that raised concerns about the practical application of the EPBC Act in a wide range of contexts. The second was about the meaning of Indigenous heritage values within the area, and how that was interpreted by the court at first instance, again in a very broad way, which would have had other practical issues for us in administering the Act and understanding how the Act was to be complied with by governments and by other potential project proponents in understanding what heritage values might be and how they could be understood. So the Minister intervened in the full federal court appeal. We weren't involved in the matter at first instance. And our role was, as I said, to assist the court. The court, in making its decision, which was handed down in mid-September, agreed with the, well, broadly agreed with the Commonwealth's position on both of those issues, about the meaning of an action and the meaning of Indigenous heritage values. And in the past week, it's handed down its orders. It's made no definitive decision about whether or not the track should be reopened, and the Commonwealth took no part in any of that discussion, proceedings or otherwise. It's a matter for the Tasmanian government to make decisions about what it wants to do with the tracks. What the court has suggested, though, and has in fact ordered in the orders handed down last week, is that if it is minded to seek to reopen the tracks, that it either refer that matter under the EPBC Act, or if it chooses not to do so, because it doesn't believe there are significant impacts raised by what it might propose to do if it should decide to reopen the tracks, to give the appellant, in this case the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre, 30 days notice of its intention to reopen those tracks.
Okay. All right, thank you. Just one follow-up question on that. The interventions, presumably they were written submissions, are they able to be tabled, or were they provided in camera?
What I could suggest, I'm not quite sure those documents are provided to the court, so I'll have to check whether or not they could be provided. But what I can refer you to is the judgment, which was handed down in mid-September, which sets out the arguments.
Adopts your position.
Well, broadly, but it sets out the arguments that the Commonwealth put, and the Tasmanian Government and the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre.
I'll certainly have a read of that, and I know Senator Wish-Wilson will keenly also. But if you're able to provide, I'm particularly interested in the position that the department would take on the interpretation of an action, because obviously that's been before the courts a number of times, and it clearly goes to when the Act applies to anything. So I'm interested in that. So if you could check whether you're able to provide that.
The submissions,
I'd be very grateful, yeah.
Yeah, the Commonwealth also appeared in the proceedings, so there's...
I don't want to pay or script all that money, so if you're able to provide it, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you very much.